So, welcome everyone for Something Wicked Film Festival. We are at our second panel, is Filmmaking a Post-COVID Landscape. Let's go ahead and have everyone introduce themselves, what film they are representing, and what they did in that film. We'll start with Jamie.
Hello everyone, my name is Jaime, actually, or you can call me James, Jimmy, whatever you want. I'm the producer of Tell. It's a short film which is emotional travel through the crisis, psychological crisis of a victim of mistreat. So it's a very interesting view of home violence, of family violence, and everything was done through the director's eyes. She's Susana Ramirez de Arellano. She couldn't be with me today, but I'm the producer and executive producer, line producer, manager producer. I did almost everything, but I had a great team. We were up to 30 people, one actress, one location, 3 days of shooting, and we shoot it 1 year ago. It was around January of 2019. So, and I'm calling from Spain for everyone.
Spain, excellent.
So good evening to everyone.
Muy bueno.
Go next, Sherwood.
I've written, produced, directed several films around the Southern Shorts Awards Film Festival and the Southern Screenwriters Guild, and I'm here to throw in my 2 cents about COVID filmmaking. It's a new trend now. My festival, Southern Shorts Awards, who Kevin is one of the judges on, there's a whole COVID, I almost feel like they should make a genre of it because they keep doing them and they're saying, oh, I made it with my iPhone. Like, I don't care what you made it with. It's either a good film or it isn't. But yeah, it's COVID films are becoming the thing. We've got one in our current festival, which is next Saturday, which is, a comedy, and it's in the top 3 in comedies, and it was made locally, and it's literally a filmmaker couple and their kids, but then we've had some really disastrous attempts. We had one that it was like nails on the chalkboard to watch it. It was a live Zoom session with multiple actors, and it was improv for 30 minutes.
Ooh.
Yeah. It was just god-awful. They didn't realize how Zoom works, where it goes in speaker view to the loudest source, so the one actress who was outside, it kept staying on her regardless of what was going on, and it was improv. And, my whole thing about improv, it's about as entertaining as a monkey on a piano. It's once in a while I hit a good note, but most of the time it's just really annoying. Anyway.
So Dave, welcome. We are going through and introducing ourselves. Go ahead and state your name, what film you're representing, and what you did in that film.
Hey, my name is Dave Rajkumar. I'm a producer, writer, director. I'm not representing any films. I'm a friend of Kevin's, so he asked me to speak on this. So, yeah.
Cool.
Dave, you got a lot of experience. You shoot more films so fast than I can even fathom. I'm sure you shot 2 during the whole pandemic so far.
No, I haven't shot any this year yet. The last film I shot was in December, but I had some ideas for the pandemic.
Yeah, same here. Well, I'll just say I'm Kevin Powers, the co-festival director of this event, and I'm probably going to listen to most of you guys talk and just interject whenever I feel like it.
So let's go ahead and start. So surprise, surprise, we're in a pandemic. It's hard to do things, let alone film. So people trying to figure out how they can continue to, do what they love, film. And you're seeing right now a lot of films are slowly creeping, announcing like, hey, we can start filming now. Hey, we can start filming now. But everything's limited. So really starting out from the beginning as you guys as filmmakers, what's your thoughts about, stepping on, like, still in this type of environment and trying to step on and trying to do a film while, you know, addressing concerns of actors and crew about their safety, being like, well, what are we going to do about masks? What are we going to do about sanitizing things? What about blah, 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 blah? I'll start with Kevin and we'll go down the line.
Well, in terms of me, I mean, I was about like Dave. I had an ideal for a film to do before the film festival, so I could have it in time for the film festival. Obviously, that didn't work out so well. But I do realize that coming back after the whole quarantine thing and trying to figure out the best way to be safe about filming a film is, you know, I have a good producer on my hand. His name is Howard Carter, who also doubles as a nurse. He's given me lots of pointers on what we need to do beforehand in terms of safety and in terms of having any medical and safety precautions, which is great to have. I'm trying to think if a lot of people are going to start having someone represent that aspect of their films. I'd be really interested to see how many people are thinking in that way.
Well, if I can speak a little bit, I think that from my point of view, from Spain, what happened here is that everybody had to stop on March 13. We had to close down everyone at home, and from May 15th, more or less, we were able to step out a little bit, what they call the phase one, and they let us to go outside, but we weren't able to gather or do any shootings. After 2 weeks ago, when everything went open and everybody could go to the streets freely, now every type of shootings are restarting to work, but everybody is very cautious about how many people are you actually on set. The law says that actually you cannot gather more than 10 people in a social meeting, but it doesn't tell anything about the labor environment. So at your company, you can be 30 people, 100 people. The measurement is not the same as in a shooting, but all the, what can you say, all the moral value, the moral value of everything relies on the producer right now. Yeah. There is no way you can actually rely on companies, on insurance or anything, because nobody is willing to do new insurance or anything. So I think we are going to be passing through a very tough time the next 2 years over here in Spain.
Yeah. I mean, I can add to that because I just talked to a filmmaker who was halfway shooting his film when this all hit. And he's now thinking, because of the safety precautions, that he may not be able to get back to finishing his film until next year. Yep. And I was like, because his film requires certain scenes that have huge crowds in them. And I was like, man. And his concern was his actor was losing weight. He won't even look the same. He doesn't look the same now. And in 6 months, he's not going to look anything like that. And I was like, man.
And we don't know yet. Also, we don't know yet how it's going to be everything in 6 months.
Yeah.
You may have to do the whole CGI thing like in
Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, even before that, what was the one, The Gladiator? It's like the whole arena was filled with CGI people.
Yeah. Dave, do you have also anything to add?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Just one thing to say. They are doing right now that here in Spain for soccer plays, for soccer games.
Oh yeah, they're putting like mannequins or pictures of people up, which is kind of freaking out the players. Well, one of the things I know Tyler Perry is doing, because he didn't come up with this. This was the first time in Hollywood, is that when he built his studios, he built apartments into his studios. And when you go to shoot there, now you're there for 2 weeks. You live in the apartment right next to the studio, the stage. And I talked to Levi, who's our host for the festival, and he said you go in, they take your temperature, they put a blue band on you, and you're with a group that wear the blue bands, and there's only like 5 or 10 of those. So it's very structured on how he does it. But then he shoots like an entire sitcom in 1 day.
Well, yeah, that's essentially what he did. He shot an entire season for the one show, in a span of like 2 to 3 weeks, and they were all happy about it. And then they said, okay, next week we start shooting the next show, the entire season. And I was like, that is crazy.
Well,
Like,
I had this thing I'd written a few years ago called Coda. I think I don't know if Kevin remembers it. It's a series of 7 webisodes, and it's all set in the future. It's found footage from the future where the ship has arrived, but they won't even talk to us. They're just sitting in orbit. So it's everyday persons recording their webcams of how they feel about it. It's like, well, this is perfect for this. And I thought I was going to have to just leave it up to the actors, but Zoom actually makes a perfect directorial tool for that. Because now I can direct them using Zoom, look at the camera, say, set up the set, set up the lighting the way I want, then I record the takes and use the best ones. So from that viewpoint, Zoom makes a great little, directorial tool.
So I want to actually, there's now 2 talking points. Both of you guys talked out. So I'll start with the first one. So again, as a producer, and that's one thing that you touched upon that not a lot of people are realizing too with film, that you get your big budget, like something that Netflix, like stuff that are already doing it, that are going to still be like throw money at whatever they need to do to make sure people are safe and continue filming. But smaller films, that is where it's truly going to suffer. We're going to see for a while, because like you were saying, big budget, like, or big or small companies, they're going to not want to give money out to something that right now they're not sure if they're going to actually be able to do anything with. And then for some of the small producing thing, again, you're going to have to, everyone thinks about their budget with food and catering and actors. And now there's going to have to be money you have to put into, possibly with health stuff, with testing, with sanitizing, with making sure, you can only have, let's say you have multiple locations and you can't just jump in a car anymore and drive over. Now you're going to have to space it out more. So as a producer and as filmmakers trying to figure out budgeting, how much do you think that's going to affect smaller shows, smaller films trying to do what they want to do?
I think there are 2 main points. First of all is that you are going to raise your expenses up to a 40% plus over what right now is the budget, in order to accomplish all those safety measures that must be taken on consideration. And the other thing is to consider how many people do you actually need on set, and how up multi-level tasking can be in any one of us. But that gets into a very high conflict of, are we actually being to be able to be professional enough? I'm going to be focused on what I need to be focused in order to be able to do the whole production. So I think that is going to be either you choose 40% more of expenses, or you lose part of the focus on each one of the little points.
Yeah. I think insurance is also going to be a problem, and I think that's, especially big companies, you're probably going to have to sign waivers saying if you get COVID, you can't sue us. So otherwise, I mean, I don't know how. I know a guy that does local insurance. I don't know how they're going to handle it, because that's a whole can of worms.
Yeah, well, they've started working on those type of contracts now, because before, like the stores that stayed open throughout everything, like the grocery stores and stuff like that, they didn't have all these safety precautions in place, in concrete, because everything was still changing. You have these lots of lawsuits happening now based on those. But a lot of those companies have now put in place where you can't sue them now if you catch it, because now these safety precautions are in place. And I did a couple theater shows at my facility in which the participants in the theater in the show had to sign waivers. They had temperature checks, and they did temperature checks. They got the little band that told them that they were allowed to do the show, but still they had to sign the waivers, because a company, a producer, if you've already done all of the precautions that people have told you to do to try and limit the spread of this virus, and someone still gets it, well, you don't want that person who gets it to come back and try and sue you, even though you've done all the precautions. And I'm sure all of us indie filmmakers are going to try as much as possible to do this temperature checks, to have the mask available, to have any and the face shields available. You know, I don't know how much more expensive that's going to be. I haven't done my first film yet, but I'm sure it's going to add to our costs. And we are filmmakers with little budgets. We ain't got the means to do something like that. That will take out a huge chunk of our budgets.
And you almost have to have one person assigned just to be like the marshal on the set. Mm-hmm. Make sure people are doing it. And the other biggest problem is that you can have it and be asymptomatic. You won't have a temperature. You won't have any symptoms. But you can still be a typhoid Mary. You can still spread it.
One of the first rules that were imposed here in Spain in order to do any shooting is to have that marshal that you said before. To have somebody to write down everybody that comes into the set, who shakes hands with, which equipment drives, everything has to be sanitized. That was one of the first requirements.
Oh, okay.
And
I have to look into that. I don't know if they have that. They have I forget what they call it. They have a person who is supposed to be trained. They have certification to be that person on set for films now. I forget what they call it, and usually that person has a medical background or is a nurse of some type.
Because another thing too, talking about stuff differently on set, you will have to have the marshal. Now, you know, one thing that people don't think about, especially as us filmmakers, is audio. How do you do audio? You know, you've got your mics, but sometimes you've got your body packs. And now, you know, depending on your type of budget, before sometimes you may see filmmakers, you know, use only one body pack on one person, or give one mic to one person and then switch off to another person. You can't do that anymore. So now that's when you have audio people, your A2s and stuff, they're going to be people that are now going to be more dedicated to having to clean off. And now you can't do, that's another thing budget-wise. If before you accounted, well, with this scene, I can do one body pack and just switch it off to people. Now you can't do that anymore, possibly.
Get individual mics per actor and just leave them on the actor.
Yeah. But now some people can't afford that.
One of the first things that also were imposed here in Spain was that after each scene, all the mics had to be sanitized.
Yeah.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
So that's another thing too. We're talking about budget. The other thing too now to consider is timing, because now, you know, depending on what you're filming, sometimes you're on a tight schedule too, that you can't whittle away certain times. And now, like you were just saying, now every time you film a scene, you're going to have to take, you know, 10 to 15 minutes, depending on what you're sanitizing, to sanitize that down. And that's going to be, again, more of a tight thing. So how do you think that's also going to affect filmmakers just dealing with a budget now, making sure people are being safe, but you're also making sure that you actually are, you know, not sacrificing all your time just to make sure everything's clean?
Well, I think you're going to have to, like I do a pre-production plan, and I give my estimate times, you're going to have to add that little extra time in each scene. You know, that's the only way to do it.
Yeah. Not only in each scene, but also at the beginning of the shooting. Every day, it takes always between an hour and an hour and a half to set everything, the lights, the camera, the people, the makeup, everything. Now it will take an hour and a half to 2 hours, for sure.
Yeah.
That's one thing Levi said, that if, I don't really buy this. He said if anybody even coughed on the set in Tyler Perry, you are out. Well, that can't really be true. They're not going to be in the middle of a scene and stop all production because one person coughed. You know, they're going to, you got to get through it, or you're going to have to throw it all away.
But now that talks about one of the interesting points and one of the biggest topics about this post-COVID thing. We're seeing it right now in other sports. What happens if you're filming and then suddenly you get when your actress is late, you get a phone call and they said, "Hey, I tested positive," or you get a crew member. And
that's a good point.
In that sense, you're seeing now with, for example, in baseball, one of their baseball teams, the whole team suddenly has all tested positive for COVID, and now the baseball players are trying to figure out, well, if that happens to 2 or 3 more players, do we just cancel the baseball season, or what do we do? So how as you filmmakers and producers thinking about that, and I guess what's your thoughts on protocols for that?
Well, in my case, I have several different teams, production teams, so I can rely on many people. I'm the PO. That's my way. I'm sorry. But,
We haven't heard much from you, Dave. What do you think?
Yeah, I feel like it's a new normal now to really prepare for all the COVID related stuff. So yeah, in that case, like I feel like it could really mess your film up if one person gets it. Then actually a few months ago, I was filming. I was supposed to film something for a group of friends for a church, and right as we were about to shoot, on the way there, I got a call saying that someone potentially had COVID, and we had to cancel the entire thing because, like, people who are around that person a few days before had to get tested too. And I could see something like that if you're on set and it says, like, a cast member gets it, it could really, postpone a lot of your stuff. So I feel like one of the main things moving forward is really time management will be a big key, and also planning ahead in case, like if you're doing a production schedule, like extra days just in case, things don't work out.
No, that's a good point.
Yeah.
And I bet the insurance companies, you can get completion insurance. I bet that's completely thrown this to the wind. I mean, the insurance company isn't going to say, wait a minute, we're not going to pay you for the production just because one person got sick.
Yeah.
no.
I didn't even think about that. Yeah. Oh my God.
Especially when you have a situation with an actor, if an actor gets sick. So, if a side character gets sick, that's one thing. But let's say, God forbid, a lead gets sick.
Yeah.
And what do you do about that? And,
Change the character.
yeah.
Well, you can do
No.
the thing. I heard a story recently about the Apocalypse Now that Marlon Brando and Martin Sheen, Martin did something that pissed Brando off. He wouldn't be in the scene with him.
Wow.
So in the scene where they actually shot that, they shot them separately. And it may come down to, all right, we're going to eliminate a lot of the group shots. It's going to be a lot of single shots. So it's just, 3 or 4 crew members. We shoot you, you shoot you. Then we do a couple of master shots where nobody speaks much. And then the rest of it is just close-ups. And, most people won't even notice.
I didn't even think about that. Oh my God, you are
I
right.
want to ask you about Kevin. About did the people? I mean, when did you actually open for new projects for this season, for this last season?
What was that?
When did you open bases for the people to send you the short films?
Well, the thing is, we never closed until June. Sometime in June we closed, but we opened in November of last year. But that whole time between March, April, May, June, our submission numbers dropped tremendously. We probably had half as many submissions this year as we normally do. And that time period in between March and I think May to June, we had very little. We had very little.
Did you
and
know,
I know a lot of my filmmakers who are trying to finish their films, and they just can't give them to me in time anymore. I know a lot of some people who I know were working on films, they just couldn't finish the films because they were in quarantine. So I was like, well, I'll wait till next year to do it. So.
Go ahead.
And did you notice any change in the technical levels, or in the results, or maybe even in the themes?
It's funny you asked that. I did when I was judging films for Sherwood's Film Festival. Like he said, there was this huge influx of films made by filmmakers who were quarantined, which I didn't actually think that was going to happen this fast. And he got a lot of them. And since I'm a judge for him, I got to watch a lot of these different films. And so this is how they're working through their quarantine issues. There was a lot of films that had 1 or 2 actors, and that was it.
In one setting.
Yeah, in
Your
one
house.
setting. Which was interesting, or there was that one film that was actually talking about COVID in the film. what was that one from Asia somewhere? I can't remember where that one was.
Yeah,
from.
that was the first one. I told her I felt like she was really being kind of opportunistic here, trying to be like the first person to get one out. But it was so early in COVID that she got things so wrong. Like, she's trying to get N95 masks to send to her Chinese relatives.
That's right. That's right.
And, first of all, when she kicks her boyfriend out, it's like, well, where the hell is he supposed to go? Then the next door neighbor gives her the mask and she hugs her and nobody's wearing masks. And I'm like, okay, you made it too early. You didn't wait until you got the information. And, but now we got one. It's, it's a comedy. It's this couple and their kids and stuff they're going through. And then they say, well, we're not going to be together anymore. We're going to date online. And they realize, well, that didn't really work. So, but yeah, we have stuff where it's one person in a room doing stuff.
With a cell phone and.
Yeah. Or you get these things where it's nobody's together in a scene. Well, they did that whole thing with what was the remake of Princess Bride with big name actors. I mean, it was silly as hell.
Yeah.
Oh, you hadn't seen that? Jack Black and a bunch of other people. They're actually recreating the scene.
Yeah, the real actors from the movie also, and
yeah,
very good, very interesting.
My name is Enigma Montoya.
Well, Hollywood was experimenting with films like, what was it, Unfriended, and the other one that made lots of money. Where it was all done on the meetings. I forget what the chat room type stuff.
Skype.
What was it?
Unfriended was shot on Skype. It was shot in one take.
Skype. Yeah.
Wow, really?
Yeah, I mean,
amazing.
You can do it. It's difficult, and I guess you better not improv it.
There's another movie that came out. I think it was 2 years ago with John Cho. It was
Searching.
And it was searching, and it's supposed to be all shot on you're just seeing the perspective from a laptop. So you guys jumped the gun on the question I was about to ask with that. So it's a two-parter. How soon do you think Hollywood is going to jump on the whole quarantine bandwagon? We're going to see movies where they talk about COVID, where they talk about quarantine. And do you think, being in this situation, there are going to be filmmakers that are going to are we going to see a Zoom, Hollywood Zoom film, or movies that are taking advantage of the fact that, they're in quarantine?
Well, it's inevitable, but I've already been contacted I've got a friend in Germany who's one of our judges, Ragnar, the Unified Film Festival, and they're opening, and the films have to be related to COVID-19. That's all it's about for this year. And it's 2 minutes or under or 15 minutes or under. And there's like a $5,000 prize. And but they're doing something really weird. They want the filmmakers to produce promo ads for them. Okay, not sure how that's going to work. But yeah, obviously, anytime you get an event like this, Hollywood's going to, churn out the stuff that they can on it. I came up with 2 scripts myself for short, so.
I'm a little bit skeptical about Hollywood. I'll see some indie filmmakers jumping on the bandwagon, but Hollywood's a little slow. They're still going to be making those what do you call it, the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the avatars and the stuff that they were in the middle of shooting for the next 4 or 5 years.
They probably do something related as Armageddon. They need a big hero in order to save the world. So, so it will be probably coming out around October, November, probably in Christmas.
Yeah, I guarantee somebody will come out of a movie called Virugeddon.
You can count on scripting between March to June. You can pre-production June to September, shooting on October, and post-production up to November, Christmas, January, more or less.
That's 2021. It's coming.
Hey, if you haven't been paying attention, Full Moon was the first one to come out with their Corona movie, Corona Zombies. It came out earlier this year. They wasted no time. Corona Zombies. I have not seen it. I've only seen the trailer.
I went to the American film market like 3-4 years ago, in Santa Barbara, where it's all the distributors. And I swear to God, they had a poster up that was Ebola zombies. And I said, please tell me nobody gave them money. But obviously, nothing succeeds like success, right?
All right. We're gonna
Philip, I'm going to let you keep going. I've got to go do my interview. It was great meeting everybody, and have fun talking about the conversation some more.
Hasta la bye-bye.
We're gonna actually with him doing the we have someone join. We have Abby joining us. Unfortunately, she's here joining us for something else. So actually, this is a good time to wind down with the final question for filmmakers. What is your thoughts about releasing? As we're seeing right now with all the big movies, there's a question right now. They're wondering if they need to, they're trying, a lot of theaters not opening, especially in the U.S. I know in other countries right now, you may be able to say, how's it going in Spain? But in other countries, they're slowly opening up theaters. Right now, they're being very hesitant. And right now, we're seeing a situation where a lot of them are just throwing stuff on demand and throwing them on video things. So how do you think releasing for theaters are going to be for the foreseeable future? And like we talked about, again, with filmmakers, same thing with the film festivals, we saw a dip and how we're going to see that suffer as well.
Well, in Spain, we are having the same situation as you have over there in the States. We have the theaters open, but the law only allows us to be every other 3 seats. So there's only like 1/3 of the occupation, and it's very sad because people is not going actually to theaters. I actually went to the premiere of the full-length movie Voces last week from a very good friend, Angel Gomez, a Spanish movie in thriller and terror, and we were 7 people at the room.
Oh wow!
It was the premiere, 7 people, like the 5 of us and this couple at the back. So it was a little depressing, but at the same time, it's understandable. People is really afraid yet of getting along, and we are actually in Spain suffering we are one of the most the country who has suffered more, and we lost a lot of people. So it's understandable. What is actually working right now here in Spain, and it's been really good initiative, is drive-in cinemas, where you can see the movie from your car. And I'm very lucky right now because I'm maybe not the only one, but the very few producers in Spain that we are being able to screen our short films at a theater, and it's in this drive-in theater. And that's probably that's going to be the future for the next 5 to 10 months. And the regular theaters are going to be they are going to be almost locked down because it's not going to be profitable business for the owners. And we are going to have to rely on the digital platforms, in order to show our products.
Yeah, I can say I run the Southern Shorts Awards Film Festival, and our festival will be next Saturday. It's a one-day-only festival online, and then we have awards presentation done on Zoom. But the theater I was using is just shut down. And the whole thing, Film Freeway, first it was without a box, then they went under because Film Freeway ate their lunch. But Film Freeway is having too many festivals. There's over 7,000 now. And they want you to have an actual venue. Well, obviously, that's not even possible now. So my next festival is supposed to be in November. I really doubt I'm even going to be able to have it then. But we've actually had an uptick in entries. But one of the things I do differently is I don't care when you made your film. So, a lot of festivals, it has to be in the last 2 years. It's like, it's not like Milk. It doesn't go off. By that standard, Casablanca, nobody would watch. Oh, it's old. So you have to adapt to it. But I think video on demand, it's a complicated issue because the theaters are saying if you do video on demand, the big boys are saying we won't release your films in the future because you're cutting us off at the knees. But the same theater we were using did set up a big screen outside and sold tickets for people to drive in and watch it. So it's ironic that we're seeing the rebirth of the drive-in movie. But yeah, it's just you do what you can to make it work. Dave?
Yeah, so is Starlight Drive-In the only one in Atlanta? I'm wondering if Georgia they opened up more, because I feel like that's gonna be the thing right now. Drive-in movies for the longest time, because I mean I have a lot of friends who go to movie theaters, but I feel like there's a lot of people who probably still wouldn't want to go with you know, being afraid of an outbreak or whatever. So I feel like it'll take a while for it to get back to regular theaters. Maybe drive-in theaters will start to make a comeback for the time being. Otherwise, I could see a lot of the big franchises. I know a lot of people postpone their films to next year, but I feel like those that couldn't wait, a lot of them did it on Amazon, or probably cut the deal with Netflix. But I know Amazon was doing this thing where they were screening a lot of movies that were supposed to be released in theaters on their platform.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the COVID panel, as we're about to start our next one. So thank you guys for joining us, and please go ahead. If you haven't seen other people's films, go ahead and watch them. We are about to start our cinematography panel, so if you would like to do that, we will be doing that in a few moments. And so I'm going to close this meeting up real quick and join back. So Greg and Ebbett, go ahead and re-click that link in a second to join back up. And thank you guys for the topic.
All right.
Nice to see you guys.
Time.